Hello, welcome back to Once Driven Forever Smitten. In the last video we had just got to the point where I was fitting the XE into Le Cav after mucking about for some time attempting to get the Ecotec to run, and we were making progress with it, and then the starter motor seized and I'm like, nope, it's coming out anyway, so I'm just cracking on with this. So, made a lot of progress on it. The tank's in, fuel lines are in, brake lines are mostly in. Need to put the new flexes on it that had only just been fitted to Fab, the blue Cavalier that got written off. So I'm going to crack on now, get the engine wiring installed, and hopefully we'll get it running in this video. Well folks, old Fab is completely stripped. Everything that's of any use of it has been removed. Big Ford SUV thing. Let's do 30 miles an hour in a 50 and brake for oncoming traffic. Oh come on, what are you doing? Wonder about these people if they've been in a drink for the night before. Right, now down the unit, Saturday, got some black hammerite to go and spray onto the chassis. Kenzo said he was going to get me some diamond black for spray stores, but he hasn't actually gone there this morning, so we're just doing hammerite. Right, that's us painted all round here. All these bits that I won't be able to get to once the engine's in, that's all. It all had surface rust on it, otherwise it was solid, but that's it now. All painted. I stuck a little bit in the jacking points at the front there as well. That's going to get Gravitex, but that's all that done, so I'm going to move on to something else now while this dries. We'll do the fuel tank or something like that. Right, next step is the fuel tank, taking the little bolts out here, and this is an internal pump version. So that lives in here. And we'll just lift out. Of course, we put the new pump in it earlier on because it was seized, but obviously this tank's pretty rusty, so we'll put the basically as new tank in there instead. Out you come, there we go, one fuel pump. Just swap the sender over, which just twists out, locks in again with a hose on it, which goes into the, which is that sort of turn on it there, which goes back into the swirl pot where the pump sits, so the fuel will just circulate. We can basically pretty much fit this now. I've got a new filter for it, and I've got the pipe from Fab, the blue Cavalier, for the inlet, because the other one on this is a mess. Fuel tank is installed. Not piped it in yet, but that's it. With the King's blue facing downwards as a tribute to the car that most of the parts are now going into this anyway. So we're just going to replace the fuel hose, and I've got genuine Vauxhall new old stock fuel filter to go in there, because the one that was on it was obviously at least 15 years old. Okay, so another step forward, we now have new fuel lines front to back. Pretty much replaced everything on the car. Filters in position there. All new hoses. Got the tank feed in, tank's all in. What will I do now? I suppose I could go and do the power steering pipes. All looking nice and shiny and black in here now. We'll prevent it from rusting out. Power steering pipes are now installed. Servos bolted in place. What I'm going to do now is drill the hole for this, which is the cruise control, and it goes up where the ECU goes in the corner. Now that should ends what?
That's what it is.
Guitar end. Right, cruise control cable installed, goes in there, just runs along the back with the loom, terminates here where the ABS was. We'll bolt it right onto that bracket there, which is just perfect for it. Going to need to change the gear lever over because that's a long type and I'm fitting the short type because I like that better. I'll go and change the linkage on the back and get the engine in. I just put it back on its original gear linkage because it's got the correct male end on it to go into this here gear lever, which is out fab, so that'll be correct, but obviously we'll have to take that out of there. But anyway, engine can get bolted in now. Right, now I've got the subframe tipped upside down because I'm going to take these old wishbones out it before it gets installed because I've got some shiny new ones. Bolt out. Just removing these drop links. These only came on the 1995 model year cars. They're more like the ones off a Mark III Astra. I don't have replacements for those right now, but I'll get some. I'll give them a go. I've got the old anti-roll bar there, which I could use, I guess. See, I've ever done a set of wishbones before with the subframe not attached to the car. There you go, first time for everything. These are the new wishbones. Tom lines off of eBay, weren't very expensive. I was going to go and put these little metal liners in them, which you have to put in the back there. Otherwise it'll knock. But interestingly, it's already got them in it. They never used to come like that. They either wouldn't have the damn things in there at all, or you would have to get them separately. So yeah, they can go back into stock. Right, bolt. I always put copper grease in all my wishbone and subframe bolts so they come back out again. Subframe bolts especially have been known to shear off in the floor. You don't really want that. Then you've got to cut a hole in the floor. Super annoying. Lovely. Well, I've given the subframe a clean up with some brake cleaner to get all the crud off it. Notice we've got our new wishbones on there. Ends of that anti-roll bar could do with a clean up actually. Oh, to hell with it. I'm not bothered about that now. So that's done. Engine is basically ready to get bolted into place. What we can do is move it into position, lower the ramp down over the engine, lift it up the crane, get the two engine mounts bolted in, and then I guess I could crawl under it and shove the subframe up into place maybe, if we get the engine at the right sort of angle. We shall see. Engine shoved into position under the car, and drop it back down again. Then we will lift the engine with the crane and get it on its mounts. I will want to... I've got new wishbones for this actually, for that subframe, so I want to get the bar across the back of it to hold the engine up straight.
We'll do that once it's up then, okay. Yeah, done a bit yet. Hold it.
shove the thing for a wee bit. There we go. Look at that there. Right.
Make sure we're alright.
Right. Right, I've got 2 bolts in either side, and I've got the transmission jack shoving the engine up straight, so we should be able to get the subframe onto it now without too much difficulty, because we need to get it to slot into these 2 bolts at the back there. Current status, I've got the transmission jack pushing the back of the subframe up, which I've got the 2 bolts in the rear engine mount, and I can now get the 2 18mm bolts into the middle, which will then mean the subframe is fully secure. We can go and tighten everything up, put the back bolts in. I've just fitted this shiny manifold. Now I bought this for 130 quid off eBay, and all I got was a load of, it's terrible, it won't fit, it'll catch the power steering bracket, it'll catch the subframe. No, I must have a different manifold, because that fits spot on. No problem with that at all. Shiny 4-into-1 thing. Ground clearance could be an issue if you dropped like 60mm, which I'm not going to be, but there you go.
What is the problem?
Right, so that's it. The engine is in. Need to get it wired in. Need to plumb the brakes in and do a bit of welding, but a lot of progress. That's it. Everything's disconnected. Now it's disconnected. ABS sensor is off. 24mm on the top of the strut. And out we come. One complete strut assembly. It's just occurred to me that the springs are rusty. These are Ibach springs, and they're not that old, but they've gone rusty, so I'm going to clean them up with a cut brush. I'm going to clean the struts up and give them a paint, because one of these actually snapped on the car. One of these Ibachs is off Kenzo's Cavalier Turbo, which came back off it because it sat too low. Unlike Fab, which sat just right, but I'm just cleaning these up with the old wired brush. We'll get all the rust off them and give them a paint, make them all nice again. Look at this bad boy, it's Kenzo's new tool set. Halford's Advanced. Oh, look at that, you've got your Torx bits, Allen bits, 1/2 inch, 3/8, quarter, 6-sided shallow sockets. What's the deep ones? Oh, they're 6s as well, nice. That 12-sided stuff. Up to 19mm normal spanners, not ratchets. Good stuff. A 23mm, they're wheel sockets. 17, 19. Nice! Have you actually used that in it yet?
No.
I was going to say. Shininess, hey! Well, there's spring number 1 cleaned up. I mean, this can't be a bad idea to go and give these a clean up and a paint, because it can't help with the paint off them and them rusting away. I've never really seen springs go like that, and considering these are like the best springs you can buy, I guess it's just testament to how shitty our roads are and that wet salt with the molasses that they've got now. After a lot of wire brushing and an enormous horrible dust cloud, now I have one clean strut, which I've painted with silver, because that's what I've got lying about. Now this spring here has only been in the car for about a year, and you can see all the rust around the top because the original one snapped. So they really don't last that long in kind of clean condition. Weird. Anybody else had this problem with Ibach springs or other makes of low-ring spring in general? I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there's like a total fog of dust in here off those bloody awful struts. That's gonna, after a good bit of brushing, that's what you're left with. Could probably get them powder coated or something. I'm going to send them away, but I'm not doing that. I'll just give them a lick of paint, you know. Better to have them tidied up rather than looking like that. That's the ones off the Cav. Those are pretty decent ones actually. In rear cases they can actually rot out in the spring platform. Because these are obviously the Mark 1, 2, 3 Astras, Mark 2 and 3 Cavalier, Calibra all use these all-in-one type struts. And then they move to the more normal type where you've got the 2 bolts and it separates. You've just got a cartridge shock absorber in there. I think I prefer the 2 bolt system because then you don't need to pull the drive shaft to go and do your springs and shocks. I'm just giving the spring seats at the tops a clean up. That's one that I've done with a wire brush and the grinder, and that's the other one that I've not done yet. The state of it. So you see the difference that makes. Obviously it's pitted and stuff, you don't see it anyway, but that's cleaned up a whole load of crud off that. That's horrible. Although you can't see it, you don't even want to know it's there. So we'll clean it up and give it some protection before the whole thing disintegrates. Eventually that would entirely rust away if you left it long enough. One thing that continues to impress me about this car is the fact that everything comes apart on it. All the inner wheel arch liners come out, and what I'm going to do is take all these out and clean it all out in here, because you find that there's always a load of muck accumulates inside the wings. But we're going to hit this with a whole load of Gravitex, and on the other side there's a load of Ecotech emissions crap stuck in our wing that we don't need anymore, so we'll be getting rid of that as well. We'll rust proof all this because it is all rock solid in here, really good condition throughout. Wait, more Ecotech irrelevant stuff to come out. The horns are attached to it, okay. That's alright. Yeah, big thing. Something to do with EGR. Don't need it anyway. It can go away. Big meaty ignition live cable going to it anyway. Just feed in back through it. Take it up to the engine bay. Now we can see there with a bit of trial fitting, that's how the bigger washer bottle goes in. It would go into that lug there, and there's a space for a nut and bolt in the other bracket, so just need to get the hole saw out, put the hole through for that, then we can run this. I can extend the pipe up to the top of the car for now and just connect it up single to the washer jets. Nice! Right, Monday night, back on it. Tonight starting off with calipers. There, I've cleaned this one up, hit it with silver paint. That's what they looked like before. This was a new caliper a couple of years ago. Look at the neck of it. Look at, well, the caliper carrier's not new, but look at the layers of crud, brake dust, grease, rust. So I've got to clean them up with a trusty cut brush on the grinder. Just freshen them up before they go back on. That is highly offensive, but that's what they look like once I've had a clean up with a brush. Massive improvement. Can't quite get into it with that brush into the little corner bits there, but you know. In fact, it's actually just about coming off of my nails. All that crud. Anyway, just hit them with a bit of silver paint, you know. Try and make them resist going like that for a little while, you know. Maybe 6 months or something. So while I'm waiting for the calipers to dry, I'm over here doing some work in the engine bay. Just fitted the battery terminal for the negative side there, because that's a different setup compared to the Ecotech. Joined all the power wires up to the positive terminal there, fitted the coil module into there, and now I'm going to go and join the 3 relevant wires of this plug, which are battery light, oil pressure light, starter motor, which will join to the wires which come up from the engine bay down here, which are hiding there. So we'll get the solder out and we'll go and join these together now. I am now rebuilding the struts, put the calipers and discs on, got the spring clamped up there. I've greased the strut top bearing, which is always a nice thing to do. Make it roll nice and easy there, no friction. I'll wait it out. Don't! I've forgotten to put the bump stop in. We will be needing that for the stopping of bumps. Top knot on. There we go. Right, get him tightened down now. And I will bet that I've got to clamp the... Oh, he's going. Now I went to a point. I'll have to put a rag on the shaft of the shock absorber and hold it so that goes right the way down. Yep, the other set, that's right the way down. Whee! So it's getting quite late. Monday night progress. The radiator is in. Lambda sensor is in, you probably can't see it. I've hooked up the heater matrix pipes and also did very bits of soldering, bit of wiring at the top. And of course I built these struts up as well as cleaning the calipers, so not a bad night. I cleaned the strut tops as well from the engine bay, hit them with a wire brush and the grinder. That's what they would look like originally, so well worth doing. Right, home time, Astra better start. You can see if I can get the track rod ends off it. There's nothing wrong with these track rod ends, but it would be nice to be able to, you know, get the wheel alignment done on the car. And as anybody knows with these, or anything else, with this type of suspension, these are notorious for not coming apart. So it'll be interesting to see if these actually do. Now, if we look at these are the steering arms and track rod ends of Fab, and you can see how rusted they are. They wouldn't come apart without a fight. That one might not be too bad, but I reckon these won't be too bad. If I can get them off, free them off, get some copper grease onto them, then we can get the car tracked, which would be nice. So two 13mm bolts, one controls the threaded adjuster there and the other one clamps the track rod end in place. So let's see if they come apart. Bolt number 1 came out without a fight. Bolt number 2 sheared off. This is amazing. Look at that. That's going to come straight out. Haha. Well, hey, that doesn't happen very often. Right, Gravitex time. It's been sitting on the radiator in the house, just like I did with the blue Cavalier not very long ago. Got these plastic bags that Iceland deliver the food in, and I've got hundreds of them, and they are brilliant for covering all this stuff up. So we're going to Gravitex all in here. I've washed it out, cleaned all the dirt off it, and I'm going to do the floor, and then that'll be fine for now. I'm not going to go up the back end of it because that needs welding around about the axle and stuff. We're fully Gravitexed. Really nice stuff. So now the next step is gear oil. This is the stuff I got a few years ago. recommended for Vauxhall 5-speed gearboxes except Carlton. So this has been about for a while, but you know, doesn't really go out of date. Right, here we go. Castrol EP80, this gearbox has no oil in it at all, I don't think.
That sounds a bit like that,
Is that us? You just fill it until it leaks out, and that would appear to be enough in it. Right, I'm now moving to the inside of the car, where we are removing the centre console because I'm fitting a pre-facelift one, because that becomes a drinks holder, and then I'm removing this, which is the long tight gear lever, which the NREG cars have. And I will show you them side by side once it's removed, because I'm fitting the short type one. But you take the centre console out here, 2 bolts in there, 4 down the side, 1 there, couple at the back, easy. Right, so centre console ready to lift out. Now the earlier one I've got has got a better position on that. So that's deeper, which means you can fit like a cup of coffee and stuff on it, which is handy. This should be ready to pull out. I've removed all the screws. So, yeah. Now, there we go. Yep. We're out. Centre console is out, which leaves us an exposed gear lever rod. Now, that's just 4 10mm bolts. I'll get the battery ratchet in, we'll whip this out, and I'll get the other one. Now, these are the 2 gear levers side by side, and as you can see, there's quite a difference between the 2 in height. Now, the long version was found in the original 89 and 90 Cavaliers, and this shorter one was 91 to 93, and then they moved back to the long lever for 94, 95. Now, I don't know if it was due to a lot of wear being created round there, where you would put your fingers there to lift the collar up, and it would be less likely to happen if you had some more space. But I don't know, you can see this one's absolutely hanging anyway because it's sat for so long, and this one was mint at one point, but as usual it's gone a bit round the top. A little bit of boot polish round there, clean it up. But yeah, I'm going to fit this now. So with this lever, it should be quite a straightforward job of slotting this in. I'll have to take my light down here and go and find the hole. There we go, that's in bolted in place. So now it's just a matter of going and getting it set up. We'll connect it under the car. Right, that's the linkage set up. Couple of attempts. I'm now fitting the fuel lines. Good thing is, that's the fuel lines off the XE, and the Ecotec ones line up exactly the same. 17mm on one side, 19mm on the other. So no splitting or joining, etc. is required. Straight on. Nice. Now thinking, am I finished down the back here? Oh, I've got the throttle cable to fit, which is easy enough. I've got the clutch cable, which I'll probably do when I push the car forward off the ramps, because I won't be able to get in under there because the door doesn't open very far. But yeah, that's the fuel lines off the XE, which were previously connected, so the original car ones can go straight on now. Woohoo! Right, it's now about midnight on Tuesday night, and it's pretty close. I reckon it's about ready to fire up. I've just put coolant in it. Let me see, I've put Jubilee clips in all the pipes. I have refitted my exhaust manifold suds because I put them in backwards the last time. Oops. Bolted the cruise control in, SFI box on, throttle cable in, plugs all connected in the engine bay, gear linkage set up. Yeah, tomorrow night this thing should fire up. Of course I've got a fair amount of work to do on my exhaust, but it's close. And of course tonight we Gravitexed it, got a lovely finish in there, and we've got the struts all bolted in place as well, and the brakes connected up. So I've got welding to do at the back end and down the sill, and I've got the back brakes to service, but the main thing is getting it so it'll move under its own steam. So we're not far away. Hey folks, well it's now Wednesday night, hopefully the Cavalier will be running tonight. There is an incredible storm starting outside. It's like proper torrential rain and gale force winds. You can probably hear it, in fact you can see it. Look at that. It's like rain from the movies. I'm glad I managed to get in before that came on. Otherwise I need to run back out and switch the Astra off. I just reversed the Vector right in here so I could get the tools out it. Good grief. I've also got various car parts which I'm pleased about. Good news is I've got 2 track rod ends from Dingbro. These babies. And I've got 2 anti-roll bar links courtesy of eBay. Also from Dingbro, which I'm not going to get started with tonight. Got some grinding discs and some slitting discs because there's welding to do. And I've purchased 15 litres of petrol to put in it as well. So it should run tonight. I just had a look at the old exhaust off the car and it won't fit because that's an Astra manifold. You don't get a Cavalier long version. So I'm going to have to go and cut the flexi off the exhaust I had just made, try and get the new one, the replacement in there. Maybe it'll work. It ceases to amaze me how easily everything comes apart in this car. I wasn't even videoing that there. And I just took the track rod end nut out, gave it a couple of whacks with a hammer on the strut, and the thing popped right out. Usually I've got to put the ball joint splitter on them. They put up some resistance, but it seems to have, you know, been living in a much milder climate, even though it was sitting for 15 years. If this was sitting in the UK, Scotland especially, it would be seized solid, so happy days. I'm going to put this strut off, going to fit the complete struts from Fab, which have got Bilstein shocks, Eibach springs and pretty new strut tops in them as well. No such luck getting this side to split. You get the old ball joint splitter onto this one, which is good because it splits them without knackering the rubber up. Boom, there we go, dink, and we're out. Not too bad at all. Right, let's get the flexies off it. Now that's the rod there before it's been cleaned up, and it's really important to get these as clean as possible so you've got the best chance of being able to adjust your tracking in a year or two's time and not have to dismantle everything again and clean it up. You know, Scottish conditions and all that. So these are the rods, or the bolts, for the track rod ends. What we're going to do with these is, I've already cleaned them up with a brush grinder. I'm going to put copper grease on them before I put them back in, so they'll hopefully stay a bit adjustable for a while. Copper grease, screw it in there, roughly the right same amount of turns as it was before, put the track rod end on, and we'll just basically do the tracking using a measuring tape just to get it to a base setting before I take it in somewhere. Right, so first of all I'm going to spray some WD-40 in here to clean any dirt out the threads or that and rust. Yeah, look at all that crap coming out of there. I don't want that in there. So once I've done that, I'm now going to get the other rod and screw it in. Right, now to give this a liberal coating of copper grease. And screw it in here. And there's about sort of 4 threads sticking out each end of these, but it never works anything like that. When you go and lower it down, tracking's always a million miles out. So That's roughly about where it was before. Now we can put the track rod end on. Right, fitted the drop links, fitted the track rod ends, roughly sort of levelled them up. We'll do it with measuring tape. We'll drop it down now, put some fuel in it, put the ECU in it, see what happens. Alright, we have hooked up the fuel pump, put fuel in it, put a battery on it, put the ECU on it, accelerator cables on it. Let's see what happens when we try and start it. There's the jump leads. With a clicking starter, I'll make that bad air. I am delighted that it's finally running. It should move under its own steam once I put a clutch cable into it. I'm going to go and hook the rear brakes up now. I've got to put an end on one of the brake pipes, fit the new flexes, the old brake pipes off of fab into the calipers. I think the brakes will be alright on it. It's hunting for revs a little bit at the moment, and I need to get an air strap for the gearbox because I've got to connect it with jump leads at the moment. But it's running, all the dash lights came on cue and went out at the correct time. Happy days. Well folks, it's now after midnight on Wednesday night. Well, it's now Thursday morning. Good bit of progress there. Obviously it started tonight, but we did the anti-roll bar links, track rod ends. I have connected up the rear flexes and installed the brake pipes. I had to put a new one on this side. And the flexes on a facelift Cavalier are different to the early ones. That one on fab was actually off a Mark III Astra and I had to adapt it, and it turns out I've had to use the other one as well. You've got to grind a little bit off it, but that's installed now. We've got a little weep of fuel from the seal there that I need to sort, but I've connected up the brake pedal and filled it with brake fluid. It needs blade. GoPro keeps telling me it's got low battery with 50%, so alright. Now back down the unit, going to get the Cavalier driving out of here tonight. Lots of sirens, apparently somebody's been run over. Just done the Vectra in the other video, all the maintenance on it, but I did forget that I had to do the drive belt, so I've got that. And you're required to split the engine mount to get the thing off. Stevie's here and we're going to bleed the brakes. He's got his Astra Saloon here. Looking nice. Unlike this thing. Shiny. Just bleeding the brakes. You want to hop in and I'll jump around and slacken them and blah blah. Alright, fuel alignment with a measuring tape as per usual. Base setting. Right, you take that to the back. And again, see where we are at the back, along the bottom of those wishbone nuts. Right, 1.6.2.5. Right, front is bump. Right. We still need to come out a wee bit, that's still 159, so I need to tweak this one, take them a wee bit, come a bit more toe out with. Shitey magnet in this torch. I don't know if I can stick to fuck on. Said that, I might go in there. We are adjusting this track rod, and what I want to do is give it a bit of extra toe out. That's going in the right direction, isn't it?
Do it again. Alright.
Right, okay, that's that one. I'll give it a little more on the other side as well. You can see up there, that's how you adjust it, then you lock them both off, and they're notorious for seizing up really badly, so It's important to get them right while they're off freedom. Back again, measuring tape. We'll go to the front first now. Right, front is, that's tight, that's about 160. So if we go to the other side, along this bit, we're at about 161. So just a wee tweak to bring that weight. What would I be doing there then? If I want to bring that, but it's bigger on that side.
When you bring it in.
So I want to bring it in a wee touch. I went a wee bit too far. Oh, I want to get tires for it, man. That's a proper earth strap on there. It connected up to the point where the washer bottle is going to go in the wing here. Ultimately, just sanded it down, give it a good clean contact, and then hopefully I should start off the key now. I won't have to put a jump lead on it. If I do, it'll be annoying. But I can come down now and get rolled forward, and the clutch cable can get connected, and then hopefully it'll move. Old clutch cable removed, because I don't trust it, because it's old. This is the one for Fab, which is still almost new. I'm going to fire that in there. I've literally got the seat out the car so I can fit myself under the steering wheel to engage it. Ridiculous. After much difficulty, the clutch cable is fitted. I actually took the driver's seat out it, which is this here, CDX type velour called chain, but that's out. The driver's seat out the Fab latterly is in, and we shall see if it starts actually. Come on. Seriously? What's that all about? That's an earth again. That's an earth. I just tightened up the earth there, they were a little bit slack, that's why it wasn't wanting to fire up, I think. It'll fire up now. It just moved under its own steam for the first time in about 15 years. Obviously it's incredibly noisy. We're just having the manifold on it, and it's idling up and down, bouncing up and down, not exactly happy. We'll have to find out what's up with that, but yeah, that's it, it's mobile. To crack on and get the exhaust sorted out on it. The Cav is alive! Right folks, well that's all for this one. I forgot to record the outro when I was down at the garage, so I'm doing it in the hotel in Sutton a few days later when I'm editing the video. Next one for Le Cave will be sorting out the exhaust, sorting out some welding, interior trim, and going through the process of getting it registered back in the UK. Next videos we've got coming, I've got the Vectra B maintenance on a run to London, and I've also got some stuff that we did with Pete's Nova at the end of last year when I actually went and picked the Vectra up. So catch you again soon, take care, bye bye. Oh, Bob, you've been eating grass. That must mean that you're going to spew. Please don't do it in the house. Deal?